Welcome to WKIM. We keep it moving with Marcia Jews. We are so evening, and it is about a new book that's being launched, and it's called Sacred Promise, a collection of stories. Welcome to WKIM. We keep it moving, and we are so excited. This has been a journey, and I'm so excited because we have a group of women here no longer in the stream. But what I'd like to do is introduce our first guest who introduced me to this whole project. And it is a book called Sacred Promise, a collection of stories led by humanitarian bestselling author Dr. Trent, written by 36 phenomenal women that inspires global women to honor who they are and reclaim their voices. It will be filled with incredible reflections and stories from a recently released book, Sacred Promise. And the book is meant to inspire women globally to honor who they are, reclaim their voices. And tonight we have 8 of these amazing women to discuss the book and each of the stories, which are nothing short of extraordinary. And I'd like to introduce our first guest who's going to help kick us off. And she's a friend of mine, but also she is a member of this incredible exclusive group of ladies, Yona Deshommes, who is the CEO of Riverchild Media. And her essay is called Living Free. Hello, Yona.
Hi, Marcia. How are you? How are you?
Well, I am, first of all, I'm grateful that you are all here and that we can even get this thing going
I
because
know, I
technology
know.
does its own thing. We can just keep doing what we can do.
And the
But
weather.
we have so much thunder and lightning over here. It's amazing. I was
Mhm.
upstairs and the whole house shook, so it must have been
Wow.
close. So, Yona, thank you for calling and telling me about this project that you're involved in. And
hmm
would you talk a little bit about yourself and then just talk about this particular project and how you got involved?
Well, I was very much drawn, to the project. The first reason is Dr. Ryde Trent. I had the blessing of meeting Dr. Trent back in 2017 when she released her book called The Awakened Woman. And, often as a publicist, I'm CEO of Riverchild Media. For those of you who don't know, my specialty is books. I've worked with authors. I have a long-standing history, almost 15, 16 years now in book publishing. And I've worked with a number of just amazing, amazing authors. And I've spearheaded the campaigns of everyone from Alice Walker, which was like my holy grail, when it came to authors, T.D. Jakes, Taraji, Common, the late Entezaki Shange, Kevin Hart, Uncle Charlie Wilson, George Clinton. So I've had a very, very blessed career, in publishing. But a lot of people don't know is I'm also a writer. So when Dr. Trent came to me with this project, it really came from a place of, we've had a rough 2 years.
Mhm.
A lot of us, there's just been so, tremendous loss between, the assaults on Black bodies, the pandemic and, cancer, which just seems to, like, especially in my universe, has just literally been taking people out, these last 2 years. And she wanted to create something that gave, people, especially women, hope. a beacon of light, in the darkness. And she realized that she, in her circle just had a lot of powerful women, who had incredibly inspiring stories. And she said, what better way to kind of come out of this pandemic than to create this collection of stories that she can share with the world, and just letting, women in particular know that there is hope. Yeah. That you can climb out of the darkness. You can come from a place where, of despair, and find hope and overcome and move forward. And that's really what this book is about.
Well, and I think what's really important here is that people have their whole lives have turned upside down.
Yeah.
And to be able to have 36 women in this book to express themselves is really powerful. And so in your chapter, in your essay, can we talk about that, or do you want to talk about some of the women that are here, or what that journey has been with you all?
Yeah, you know what? I don't want this to be all about me, because I could talk.
Yes,
so
I do.
You know how I am, girl. So I would, love to kind of bring, some of the women in, because I want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to really, to talk about their story. And, especially given what's happening, with, with the technology, I want to make sure that, because, it's not about me. It's really about us.
Okay.
As a collective. So I would, do that. And trust me, I'll pipe in,
Oh, I know you will. Don't worry. Anybody, but not you. No. So that's what happens when you do business together, and then you become friends, and you understand and have a respect for the personalities. And I truly appreciate you. But our next person then is Tracetta Briggs, who is SHRM SCP DDI Chief Performance Officer at Performance 3 LLC. And her story is Revelations from the Emergency Room. Tracetta, please join us. Let's see.
Can they?
I can do it.
There she is. There you go, beautiful.
Hey. Hello, Yona and Marcia. It's great to be here.
Yes, it's great to have you here.
What's up, Yona? It's a pleasure.
Awesome.
So let's talk about your essay. How did you come to this particular story? Share with us a little bit about your story.
Well, before I share about my story, let me tell you a little bit about how I met Dr. Ryde Trent. I am a member of the National Association of Women Business Owners. In fact, in addition to my business, I have the honor of serving on the national board. And in 2013, I met her because she was a keynote at one of our annual business conferences. And she did an amazing keynote for us. And so I admired her so much and what she had done, and of course, what she had been doing for young girls. So fast forward 2016, she became an honorary soror in the sorority I belonged to, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And then fast forward to the opportunity for this. And when I saw it, I knew it was time to get my story out. I had been trying to write a story for years. And a person told me, you'll get your story written when it's time. And I was like, it's got to be time right now, and I was just so anxious and I felt so frustrated. But when this opportunity came, there was just goosebumps, and I knew it was time. It had the word promise in it, and it was led by Dr. Ryde Trent, who I admire and is also a sorority sister. So it was time, and it was wonderful. But my story is about my voice journey. I want it manifested itself starting in the emergency room, the whole journey, but I want women everywhere to know that their voice is powerful, and that no matter what, your goal is to use your voice as intended for fulfilling your purpose and for yourself and for others. So it's like a fingerprint, it's unique. You're the only one who has it. So if you are not using it in the way it's intended and using it well, you're doing yourself and you're doing the world a disservice. So it was important because it was time, and this was the right platform with Dr. Ryde Trent to use it on. And like I said, I've been trying to get it done for years, and I finally did, and this was the right platform. And so I'm so excited to share it with the world.
So tell us a little bit about it, and hopefully we'll get everybody who is watching to buy the book and they
Mhm.
can read all of the stories. But share with us a little bit more about the story and what that really means, the
Mhm.
revelations that you had, and why were you in an emergency room?
I was in the emergency room because, and I don't want to give away too much of the story, of course, but I was in the
Right.
emergency room because I could not breathe. I have severe allergies, and it manifested itself in several trips to the emergency room. And that particular time was about the fifth time I'd been there. And I couldn't take it anymore because it had wreaked havoc in my life. I was depressed. I didn't know what I was going to do because my voice was my livelihood. So after that emergency room visit, it took me on a journey to find my true voice because the allergies and the problems I had caused my voice to almost literally go away. It was something I didn't recognize. I couldn't use it well. I was having problems breathing. It was just a very difficult time. And so that caused me to wonder what I was going to do without it. And then it took me on a journey to get it back. And when I got it back, I realized that I was not using it properly, and it meant something totally different to me than it had before. Before
Mhm.
I had taken it for granted. After this whole experience of almost losing my voice, it meant so much more to me. And I totally changed my life in order to make sure that I followed what I believe God was leading me to do with my voice. And it's just
Mhm.
been a real wonderful journey to get to do that. So I want people to, no matter what, no matter what their voice is like, no matter what they're experiencing, or whatever, for whatever reason they feel like they don't have a voice, I
Right.
want them to realize that it is important to use it as God intended for you to use it and not let anything or anyone stop you.
That's powerful. And too often we don't even appreciate what our voice really means to us.
Yes,
And to be able to not only have the voice to hear the sound, but to have the voice to say the words, because the words are far more important sometimes.
exactly.
Right.
Exactly. It's a when you go through that kind of transformation, it means something much different. In the past I was pretty, I was just kind of, oh, thank you. Everybody was talking about how wonderful my voice was and how I used it, and I just took it for granted. But when you almost lose something, you really get an appreciation for it,
Mhm. And that's
especially when you realize that you're not doing it the way that you were supposed to be doing it.
that's right. And that's really powerful because we don't always pay attention. We're so busy being busy that we don't always do that introspective and take the time to see what we need to be doing. And so
Absolutely.
I'm glad that you had that revelation, and your voice sounds beautiful, and I'm glad to be here to hear it.
Well, I'm so glad I got it back because literally, uh, each day I get up and I thank God for my voice, and I want to use it with the impact, intention, and influence that it was intended to be used for. And I try to help everyone else that I connect with who might have any kind of struggle with their voice for any reason. Somebody's not letting them use it. They're
Mm,
losing their voice physically, like I was. There's some other reason. I want them to find their voice, find their purpose for it, and really hone in on intentionally doing just that.
that's powerful. And you'll be in our prayers, and I can't wait to read the entire essay. I know it's powerful.
Well, thank you so much for this opportunity to share. This is an honor to be in this book with Yona and the 34 other women who are here. Everyone has a beautiful story, and I can't wait to get and read the whole book myself. It's going to be exciting.
I know. I'm looking forward to it too.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Well, you're very welcome. Again, thank you for this opportunity and have a lovely day, whatever time it is for you.
Yes, and we're going to be here till 9 o'clock, so I'm sure we're going to come back around, right?
Yes, I'll be here.
Great.
All
So our
right.
next
Thank you.
guest is
Thanks, sis.
Gertrude. Gertrude Matche, founder and global curator for Her Story Circle and Her Story. And her essay is Ubuntu 2.0, Humanity's Operating System.
She's not in the room yet,
She's
Marcia.
not in the room. Is she
No,
in the
Trisetta is.
back?
Yeah, she should be in the
Oh,
back.
here she
Tricetta's
is.
still here.
Here she is.
There she goes.
Hello,
Okay.
how are you?
Hello,
Welcome.
wonderful to be here.
Well, congratulations.
I am just absolutely honored to be in this circle of these dynamic sisters. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, I thank you all so much for joining me. When Yona told me all about it, I was like, oh my goodness, we're going to have to make this happen, whatever we need to do. And, she tells me what to do anyway. So I, I just do what I'm told. And I'm so grateful because this is an incredible opportunity. What was your essay about, and why was your essay so important?
Ubuntu 2.0 is a play on the Ubuntu operating system. I am from Zimbabwe originally, and when I moved to New Zealand 21 years ago, I realized that a lot of people think that Ubuntu is just an operating system. They don't realize that it's based on an African philosophy called Ubuntu. Ubuntu ngamuntu ngabantu says a person is only a person through other people. It is our way of expressing the condition of being human. In Southern Africa, when we greet, we say sabona, which means I see you. And it's when somebody sees your humanity and they acknowledge your humanity and theirs. So without you, I don't exist. Without me, you don't exist. And we're reflections of each other. So I use the pun on this operating system name because IT was my first career. And I want to spread the philosophy because I believe that it is a solution to most of the world's problems. In Ubuntu, we talk about a radical connection to others. We can solve the world's problem if we have empathy, compassion, collaboration, like what we're doing now, and connection. So I wove my story into the Ubuntu philosophy to illustrate what it is. I've actually written a book called Born on the Continent Ubuntu. And in this particular book, I've shared my sacred promise, which was always to go back home to Africa and help, especially with education. So Dr. Ryde Trent came into my awareness after I first watched the Oprah show, Christmas 2004. She had gone to South Africa. She was having Christmas with 1,000 HIV orphaned children. And she was standing on a soccer pitch. And there was a point in that show where she opened up her hands and she said, "This is the lost generation of Africa. These are children who have lost both parents because of AIDS. Africa needs help." And I called my mother immediately and I asked her how many orphaned children we had in our family. My grandmother had 11 children. She had 34 grandchildren. 19 of my first cousins died of AIDS. There were 49 orphaned kids on my side of the family. Another 40 on my husband's side. So I wrote a book, my first book, as a way to raise money for school fees. It's only $5 to send a child to school in rural Zimbabwe. That book took on a life of its own. For the last 21 years, I have sponsored 3,000 children from my village, from my community. And then I saw Dr. Ryde Trent on her show, and the inspiration just fueled me even more. I started following her through social media. I started writing to her, connecting with her. And then last year, she posted on LinkedIn that she was trying to raise $100,000 to bring a group of young Zimbabwean girls to come to America to study and go to university. And it just so happened that that week, I had got an anonymous donation from a woman from Michigan, Detroit. She donated $5,000 to my foundation. So I pulled out $1,000 and I sent it to Dr. Trent to help with her efforts. And we started talking, we connected, and now I have the honor of co-authoring a book with her. So it's very humbling. She is a role model. I follow what she does because I know
the power of what education can do in a young girl's life, because I was one of those girls. So I got into IT when I was 17. My father had lost his job. The bank was about to repossess our home. And my dad helped me build self-confidence by sending me to the city every school holiday to apply for jobs and not take them. He would say the corporate world is white. You need to stand up in front of a white person and speak. So my sister and I were bused to the city every school holiday, would apply for jobs and not take them, just to build our self-confidence. And that school holiday, I came back with 4 job offers. I wanted to be a pilot. I was going to fly out of Zimbabwe if it meant I flew the plane myself. But I failed on the
That's all
height.
right.
I passed the aptitude test, but I was too short. I was 1.4 meters tall when I was 17. I went in for a COBOL programming aptitude test, passed that, nursing, passed that, and an air hostess. And my father said to me, technology is the future. My dad was a chartered accountant. He didn't even know what a computer was. He said it's a combination of an adding machine and a typewriter. Technology is the future. So I became a first-generation coder, and it changed my life.
I love it. And that's a powerful statement, that your parents said, you need to go here and do this.
Yeah.
And, you know, too often we're not forced to do things that we don't necessarily want to do because we don't see the end, right?
Yes.
We don't see the end. So we don't want to dabble.
So true. I
Right?
must say, I was blessed to be gifted to 2 amazing parents who realized that by educating their kids, we would get out of poverty, and we did.
Mhm. And that's huge. That's huge. I lost a cousin, first cousin, James, to AIDS. And
I lost my youngest brother as well. So out of the 49, my baby brother was one of them.
you know, that's a whole nother conversation, girl, but I'm sending you a hug. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Do we have our next speaker is Sandy Davies? Is Sandy with us? I don't see her. Okay. So we can Vizine, Zepase, Mamusi. Is that correct? Are we here? Yes. Hello, how are you? Welcome.
Next stage. How are you?
Yes, I'm fine. And we are so excited because you're part of one of the essays, and yours is Silenced Journey.
Yes.
Oh, it sounds powerful. Do you want to share with us? Congratulations on being a member of such an elite club.
Thank you so much, Marsha, and thank you for having us. So, Silence Journey is a story of my journey with fibroids. So, I advocate for reproductive health. So, I wanted to share my journey with fibroids to bring awareness. And actually, this month, July, is Fibroids Awareness Month. So I wanted to bring awareness to this subject because, as a society, reproductive health is not something we can easily talk about. And most women, they are going through this journey on their own. Due to maybe embarrassment, just afraid to share with others what's going on with them. So I wanted to share my experience with it, just so other women can be open to talk about fibroids. Fibroids is affecting 1 in 9 women. There are so many surgeries happening in the US. I believe quoting the World Journal, there are over 200,000 surgeries that are happening in the US alone because of fibroids. So, and in my African community, we don't talk easily about reproductive health in my African community, yes. So I wanted to share my story just so other women can be, comfortable to share their stories as well.
Mhm. And I think it's very important because too often, many of us end up with fibroids and we don't even know what they are,
Mhm.
and we push through. We're always trying to push through because we got to get something done. We have to push through because we got to go to work, got to push through because the kids got to do something, got to push through because mom and daddy and them got something else they need us to do. We got to push through. And as we push through, we go through the destruction of our own bodies,
Yes,
right?
yes.
And we don't take that into account. So I'm very happy that you found this as your essay, to be part of your essay, because as women of color, we have to really make certain that we take care of ourselves, because we are that person. We're the strength in many of those families. We're the strength to push through. So we have to have our health.
Yes.
We have to have our health, both mental and physical and emotionally. We must have our health. So this is very powerful. And I'm just excited that you all are here, and these stories and how these stories will be used from this moment on, right? Where these stories in the book will take to communities all over the world for women who look like us to learn and how to be and how to find peace within themselves, and the change that we need to make in order to be healthy mentally, emotionally, and physically.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's powerful. So we have next would be Selena Cheshire. The choices I made that changed her life. And so do we have Selena here with us? I don't. Yes, we do. Hi, Selena.
Hi, Masha.
How are you?
I'm all right. Sleepy though.
Oh, I know you're on the other side of the world. Where are you? What time is it?
It's 12:30, half past midnight.
Oh dear, let me hurry up. You want me to send you some coffee? Wait. Okay. So your theme is the choices I made that changed my life. Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's so many choices I made out of my life, because I lost my mom when I was only 14 years old. And, she asked me to look after her kids. And so I took that. I got married early, thinking I'll be able to look after my siblings, which was a mistake. But I made a choice again to come out of the marriage, and then moved out of the country to come to the UK, which also, changed my life. So when I came over, it was like I had cancer. And when I was lying in bed, a voice said, "What are you waiting for? You're already healed."
Mm.
And I thought I was dying, but that voice made me choose to live. And because everybody around me was thinking I was dying. And so those choices, they really, made me who I am. And because it's like part of my story is like I was living my mother's life. I wanted to make my mother happy, looking after her children.
That's really powerful that you heard a voice,
Yeah,
that the supreme being,
yeah,
God, was telling you that you had a different road you're supposed to take because you had some work to do.
yeah. I had some work to do. Yeah. So I'm grateful to be part of the book. And Gertrude invited me here. She told me about it. She's a sister from Zim. I'm from Zimbabwe too. So I'm so grateful to meet, lovely women and, yeah, lovely sisters. So
I
it's
love it.
nice to be in America as well with you guys. And thanks to Yona for just, like making it possible for us to meet you, Masha.
I'm so excited. Well, I'll tell you, Yona and I have known one another for a long time. And I'll tell you, she always comes and tells me what to do. She just tells me what to do. And I think she just likes telling people what to do. I think she finds joy in telling people. I have to mess with her. But she always brings great stuff, right? And here we are with this amazing essay book that speaks to all of us from all over the world. And it doesn't stop here, right? It
No, it
doesn't
doesn't.
stop. And we're going
Yeah.
to take it even further. So, Miss Selena, is there anything else you would like to add to your story or the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, just, like Terry Ryde, Dr. Terry Ryde is, what she does is something which is really after my heart, looking after the, youngsters, young girls. And it's a beautiful thing to do because, as you know, or you might have heard, women in Africa, we just one of the lowest. A friend of mine was telling me that, she went to a church and they were saying women, they don't have heads. Women, they are not seen. I mean, they are not heard, they can only be seen. And they were not allowed to do their hair, they were not allowed to dress properly. Only men were supposed to dress in suits and, be men. So it's like that's how it was during the time when we were growing up. My mother was a teacher, but she never worked all her life. After having 3 children, she had to stop and become a wife. And my father, he was a man. Yes, I loved him to bits. I lived with him all my primary school because he was a teacher, and I used to move around with him. But it's like a woman who my mother was. She was always at home, and I don't remember being appreciated. So I told myself I will never ever allow anybody to put me in that place. And so that, I love women or girls to just understand that they are powerful and, they are real.
And they are
So
real. That's right. And they are real. And
they're
that's
worth
what we
it.
have to take. That's our takeaway because we are real. We are dimensional. We are
Yes.
emotional. We are physical,
Yeah.
right? We are all of those
Yes.
things, right? And that's very, very powerful. And it doesn't matter what continent you're on, because if you're a woman, you still have to deal with far too many men who are not prepared to understand what women should be able to do freely.
True.
And that's
That's
another
very
conversation. We'll have to all get together and have that conversation. We don't want to. You don't want me going down that road. Lord have mercy. Well, we got another person here. I'm so excited. All these wonderful people. Comfort Dondo, CEO of Fumilani, African Women Against Violence. And her essay is Returning to Me. And let's see if we can find Comfort. Yes. Hi, Comfort. Let me make sure you're unmute. There we
Hello.
go. Hello. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Wonderful. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. And I have to say, I said yes because, yes, Sister Yona told me what to do. She's
Right.
one of the few women who can tell me what to do. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you all here. We're really
Thank you.
excited.
Thank you.
So, how did we get to returning to me?
Returning to me. In fact, first of all, I want to say, I'm very thankful for this space right now because I have always prayed and wished for this space. I work in the domestic violence, sexual violence movement, and it is led by white women, white liberal women, and I'm going to say it out loud. And it has never been a space for women like me and you. And so within that space, we have been taught to divide and fight with each other as Black women or as women of color. And it's been really hard to find a space like the one that Dr. Trent has created for us. To meet women like Gertrude, Sister Trista, Sister Gisney, Sister Selena, to meet all the women in the anthology has been so refreshing for me. Personally, it has helped me to return to me. So how do we get to return to me? It has been a journey, including this space. For me, as a survivor of child sexual abuse, born and raised in Zimbabwe, and trying to run away from that trauma, from that pain, and coming to the US without knowing that I had an invisible knapsack on my back. And then living another 18 years in the city of Minneapolis, where George Floyd was killed and had most of the police brutality that happened, and trying to figure myself out in this trauma upon trauma until I could find a way to return back to me. So that's the name of my essay, because it's just been it's been a very painful journey, but full of gifts in that pain. So that's,
that's really powerful. And what I think is fascinating is that I can relate to everybody that has spoken, and at 70 years old, you sit down and you say, okay, I've lived, and these are some of the experiences, and not all of those experiences have been discussed. And so when you look at yourself, and I too, my first husband was an abuser. And I literally, that's a whole another story, but I literally had to run away with my daughter on a hip and a paper bag on the right hand. And so, we as women have gone through so much, but no one would ever think that you'd gone through anything with a beautiful blue dress on and the wonderful hairstyle. And nobody sees the facade. They
Thank
see
God.
the facade. They don't know what's behind that mask. Right.
I've heard that. Yeah. Thank God we don't look like our circumstances. In fact, this afternoon I was going through some old photos with my team, and I paused for a minute and I had to take a break when I stumbled upon a Chevy old truck that a friend had given to me, and I was living in that truck. But you would not have. I was homeless for a while. I was living in my car, and whenever I could, I would live in a cheap motel, which is why I wrote my first book. But you'd not know that I was living out of my car because I would present this way. And so nobody would know that. And thank you for sharing about your experience as well. Yeah, domestic violence is the work that I do now to support women, mostly immigrant women of color. But we work with women who are fleeing abuse. But that was part of my journey, right? And in Minneapolis police department coming into my home, and my ex-husband was very well known in this community, and they would come and not talk to me and talk to him and leave without a report. And so when we showed up to court, I had nothing on me. And just when we're talking about systems that are skewed, I am a personal testimony. But I'm also very thankful that I've been able to use all the pain to make change for others, to make change for policies. And that's kind of why I'm very excited to be in this platform with all these women with powerful stories, because I think all of our painful experiences have brought some gift with it, that we at least try to make change for others, to not have to go through the same. Yeah.
And I think, thank you, because, we don't even know all of the stories that are not here tonight. Out of 36 some odd women that have a story, we all have a story. And we don't always have a platform for that story, or there may just be a one friend or a cousin or somebody that that's family or close that you can share that with. But then there are those of us who are isolated and there's no one to share, and we suffer in silence. And so for you all to be able to use those essays is very, very powerful. I'm just so glad that you're here. I'm sitting here saying, how can we get back in touch with, we should do this with some kind of regularity, have people bring people, it's so powerful to just have these conversations that might even be a retreat. But thank you so very much, Comfort. I'm just grateful to have you here.
Thank you.
And our next guest is Sarah Wacko, director, curator, writer, and artist, so that I might speak to you of your magnificence. So let's see if we can get Miss Sarah here. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, Marcia. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm so thrilled to be in this circle of incredible women tonight.
Well, we're just grateful to have you all here, and thank you for joining us. So talk to us about so that I might speak to you of your magnificence. What is that? Speak to that. That's powerful.
Thank you. That title is born from basically all of the work that I do in the world, which is passion and purpose driven towards basically moving the arts forward in the world and believing in the power of the arts. And I do that as an artist. I do work in my studio. I do that as a director. I do it as an arts educator, as a curator, as a supporter of arts organizations. So on all kinds of levels. And I do it because I feel that the arts is an incredibly powerful force in the world. It's a healing force. It was a very personal healing force for me. But I also, as a director, I see it as a very healing force for communities as well. I think that any form of the arts can, basically elevate ourselves to our shared humanity. I think it builds compassion and empathy. I think it helps us see each other, not dissimilar to what we're talking about right now, right? When we hear each woman's story, we can relate, we can put ourselves in everybody's shoes, that it's a kind of force that says, oh, okay, now I start to understand what it was like for your experience, or what it was like to be you. And we can build these bridges of compassion and empathy. I also think arts is good for our health. There's all these amazing studies that have been coming out lately. That's like after 45 minutes of drawing, the cortisol levels in your body decrease. That's our stress hormone. So I can go on and on.
Right.
Even like the power of it and the force of it, and that eventually became my sacred promise. Once again, starting with going through incredibly difficult times in my own life, where I didn't know how I was going to wake up the next day. But one thing I could always do was go into the studio and create. I could always, it was, my lifeline. So from that personal experience of knowing how it healed me, to then sort of going out into the world. And so, yeah, it just, all along that road, it became my sacred promise of like, how can I push the arts forward in the world? Because I believe in the power of it.
And when you push the arts, what are you talking about? Are you talking about visual arts? Are you talking about outdoor art, public art? Is it dance? Is it what medium?
Yeah. So, I mean, when I say the arts, I am talking about all media.
All of that. Okay.
I am a visual artist. I work as a director within visual arts, but I also work within public arts and all kinds of mediums. I think it's the same power in all, and writing, like a book like this, the power of story. I always kind of feel like every version of every way that the arts is manifested in the world is storytelling, all these different types of storytelling. And so kind of all of it, but I definitely work a little bit more in the visual arts and rooted a little bit more in the visual arts just because of my history.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really powerful. Too often you see young people who are expressing themselves through the arts. And I know here in the Baltimore, Washington area, we're finding a lot more organizations, nonprofits, as well as private, that are making a bigger investment in the young people in music and creating environments where these are outlets for young people to paint or to draw or there's a couple of folks here who are photographers, and one guy, he paints everything, these amazing photos, and he's a former football player, but he does the most amazing work, and they turn them into stories. The whole artwork, that the characters that they create in the movement, because sometimes children don't even see themselves outside of their community if they're underserved, and this art allows them to open up their mind. I call it letting one's brain breathe, right? And so to be able to do that, we get so confined with the pressures and all the mess that we've got to deal with in a long time for too often, and our babies don't always know how to navigate that. And so the arts are a wonderful, wonderful form for not only children, but adults as well, to be able to let out all of that we are going through, and which is really difficult too often.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a mode of expression, and very good example with children that might not have the words to communicate how they're feeling, but you can express it in all these other modes, through your body or through a visual form, or whatever you're given to just say, like, express what you need to express. I think it's a tremendous tool for trauma, personal trauma and community trauma. Even once an artist makes a work of art, that's a statement about a community trauma, the amount of people that might go stand in front of it and look at it and are experiencing this level of catharsis or just processing, right? It's like sometimes we need this visual image. There's this incredible scholar, Dr. Sarah Elizabeth Lewis, that talks about aesthetic force. Like sometimes you need this visual artistic experience of aesthetic force to move a community and a population through something. She always talks about the image, the first time the image of a slave ship was ever published in a newspaper, that showed like the architectural drawing of it and how many people it could hold versus how many people it does hold. It was a major catalyst for the abolitionist movement. Mm-hmm. The first image of Earth, shot from space, that showed, the tiny blue dot, right? Major catalyst for environmental movement. So there's an aesthetic force there. There's a healing force there that operates on a community level and on a cultural level within the arts. But then also, as you say, if a child is going through something or suffering from something, but given, paper and pencil and just time, I think time is a huge aspect, and just like go ahead and write out or process whatever you need to process. Or an adult, I mean, we all need it. My personal belief is like everybody should have a studio. The world would be healthier if everybody, had this place for creative expression all the time. It's very, very good for our health in release and processing, and also celebrating. I also think it's this, I feel like it moves beyond some of our hurts and our wounds, and gets us to this place of creation and celebration. I feel like there's like a few levels that happen there too with creating anything.
There's an organization here. They do a lot of work, and we have I'm in Baltimore. We have a lot of public art. So they're on fences and the sides of buildings, apartment buildings. They're all over, and they are fabulous. And so, but there are several schools that are in the metro area. They, during the spring and summer break, they go and take groups of these children to go and then have them to be inspired by all this public art. And the work is unbelievable. Some of these things are 3 or 4 stories high. They're wide. It's just amazing. And fortunately, I'm glad to say that the city has committed to, making certain that they're maintained as well. But, for a child to be able to stand and look at a 3 or 4 story figure that looks like them,
Yeah.
that's sitting at a desk or doing something that's professional or at a job or painting a fence or whatever they're doing, to be able to see other than what's in the confines of their little worlds, right?
Absolutely.
And it's really important. Alvin Ailey used to be here, and we had the Alvin Ailey Dance Theater of Maryland, and we had Ailey Camp here, and that was, those kids were dancing. Oh my goodness, they were having a blast. They had so much fun. But that expression, when you finish with them, when we finished, they were just so light. They were
Yeah.
just light. And it's that lightness that we can take and shape. It's
Absolutely.
and we don't have enough light for our young people. We need more light in the arts for our young people.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are both really amazing examples. I mean, first of all, public art is our cultural mythology, right? So it's really, really important, first of all, that there's a lot of representation in what a city, a mural, or a sculpture, you know, what a public landscape is putting out, that the whole community fits in, right? Like the whole community can see themselves in, but also activating a public mythology and you know, the imagination for the public. It plays such a huge role. And you know, we've talked about this within this group before too, very much tied into Dr. Terrori's beliefs that like it starts with the dream. Right? You have to dream it. It starts with the imagination, and then you dream it, and then you see it, and you see it in your mind, and then you can start, and it starts to shift everything else inside of you and direct your actions, and then you can build it, and then you can be it. Right? It's the same thing with any kind of public mythologies. Like we have to have these incredible murals of vision in order to build a society that actually looks like that. Right. You know? And same with, I loved your example of the dance, because yeah, it's like, who knows what all of those kids were processing through their body as they were releasing and celebrating, you know, everything from trauma to potential, you know.
That's right.
To having a clear moment of accessing their unrealized potential.
And it's huge. And it's huge. You've got to create an environment where children can see themselves. Exactly. You got to see yourself there. If you can't see yourself there, how you going to get there? You don't even know, wait, what? I can't get there. Because we don't even think that, well, it's only like 3 blocks. You could walk it. But if you don't see what that 3 blocks looks like, you can't even put the shoes on to go.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Okay, we've got, if I don't get Sandy Davies on here, I know she's sitting back there, and we're going to keep talking, ladies, as soon as we get Sandy. There you are. Hi, Sandy.
Oh, g'day, Marsha.
And
hello, ladies.
Sandy is a director, curator, writer. Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong one. Author. She is an author, and her story is The Power to Rise Above. Well, see, we're talking about that right now. Let's hear a little bit from you, Sandy. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. And for anyone that's worried out there, as Gertrude would have mentioned as well, hey, it's tomorrow already in Australia, so there's no need for any worries. But yeah, I'm such a big proponent of how we all possess within the power to rise above. And sometimes in our deepest sorrows and in our moments of doubt, we forget that we have that inner spark. And I still just go, pinch me, and feel like it's just such a gift to be sharing our stories with Dr. Terrorai. She and I had a bit of a sliding doors moment nearly 3 decades ago when she first came to America and came to Oklahoma. I was just leaving Kansas, and we were literally 10 miles from each other as we passed on Habitat for Humanity projects. So I'm so thankful to the universe for bringing us together now. And in the book, I actually have titled my story of that power to rise above Ad Astra per Aspera, to honor my Kansas Midwestern background, because ad astra per aspera is the state motto of Kansas, which means to the stars through difficulties.
Mm.
And yeah, Trosetta's from Kansas as well.
Oh, that's great.
Kansas born, yeah.
I think of the Wizard of Oz in Kansas and it kicking your heels or something. Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. and on that Wizard of Oz theme, you know, the fairy godmother reminds us in that story that, you know, we all have that power within. It's just sometimes we forget to recognize it and embrace it. So I guess that's part of why I love this Sacred Promise project so much, because for me, I was a scholarship kid, and if it hadn't been for the people who had already begun their rise that extended their hand down to lift me up through pushing me through those scholarship channels, I wouldn't be where I am today. And when I went to college and joined a sorority, the biggest message in the sorority was that if you have a win and you don't share that win with a sister, you've failed. And I feel like through sharing our stories in this Sacred Promise, we're all extending a hand to someone else to complete that journey and say, you know, you've got this and you're going to make it and your potential will be actualized.
And that's powerful. And your potential will be realized. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And in my story, I actually went back with my story all the way back to middle school, because I realized as a woman in my 50s, people quite often just saw me as this confident, capable businesswoman that had maybe come to this place through no journey of hardship. And I think we do sometimes when we just get so busy being us and making our world work, we forget to share with people maybe what has given us that confidence and strength. So I actually went back and shared a story of being viciously bullied all through year 7 in middle school, because I realized at 50, I'd forgotten to tell other women, hey, I know how that can feel. And let's try to find some skills to, you know, find that resilience and stand up to the bullies or move beyond and away from the bullies, because when we can find that voice, it's powerful beyond belief.
Yeah, and bullies are everywhere.
Even in adulthood, I'm always so disappointed, and even more disappointed when it's another woman who is a bully. And that was actually probably the catalyst for the Power to Rise Above, was watching a bully younger women instead of lift them up. It just broke my heart.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, I grew up in South Bend, Indiana. And back then, it was probably out of 175,000 people, less than 3 or 4% were my color, right? And so when you sit there and you look at that, and you had all these bullies from all over from the other sides of town, right? The east side, the west side, whatever. And no matter what, they always found a way to create a bullying environment, right? They always find a way. They find a way. And it doesn't even make sense to me that they can even find a way like that. So what is going on with them? Because I have to switch this around. There's something wrong with people who are bullies. The pain or something that they've gone through has created this peace within their spirits that they can't let go. And they're so angry from all of the other things that they've gone through that they take it out on whomever is there.
Absolutely. And that's always so devastating when that happens. And that's why I guess I love generational cycle breakers. And for me, like, I was the first in our family then to go to get a university education and all of that. And a lot of that was tied to my father, who had come from an extreme background of violence and abuse by his father. And it was always a little bit hush-hushed, but still spoken about with such steely determination at Thanksgiving, at Christmas, at birthdays, that he and his 4 brothers and his 6 sisters all were absolutely adamant that they were not going to perpetuate what they had experienced for the next generation, with the hopes that we would then, take advantage of opportunities like scholarships for education to empower our journey. And I wish that there was some magic seed when someone can't break and just reproduces that violence or that anger and perpetuates that on because they don't know what to do, but repeat.
But it's in your system, right? It's what you've lived. It's what you're accustomed to. It's almost like a brand, being branded. And if you don't break the cycle, it just continues to exist. There were twin girls, Judy and Jackie Hardy or Harvey in South Bend when I was growing up. And they were just the biggest bullies ever. Like, what happened to these beautiful girls? They were athletic, they could run track, but they were just twins, beautiful, mean. And so it made I didn't think about it then. I just thought, oh, they were mean, and let me stay away from over there, because that right there sounds like a whole nother thing I'm not ready to deal with, right? We won't go into all my past, but it said to me that those people have some issues. I didn't know. I was in junior high school. I didn't know what that meant. But it meant, now looking back, that they were going through some serious trauma, those beautiful twins, that they had to hate people the way they were hating people. And that outburst, and we don't really think about what all could possibly be happening. I guess now we can see a lot of this on television or whatever, but trauma starts in the tightest places and in the most interesting places that you wouldn't even expect.
Absolutely, it does. And part of what I write about is sometimes when other people in the world let you down, find the way to be your own coach and your own champion and your own cheerleader. Because once you master that, it gives you the opportunity to coach others and cheer others and champion others, and step up to the plate and be that better coach or that better teacher or that better parent that then provides opportunity out of that anger and hate for the next generation.
Yona, I know you've been listening to all of this. This is a lot, huh? But it's powerful.
Listen, I told you I was bringing the fire. Did I not?
You brought the fire, the flames.
I mean, look at my sisters here. All of them. Fierce, girl. Fierce. I told you, I said, Marsha. You know what it is. I said, I'm bringing some sisters that are going to inspire. I'm bringing sisters that have been through the fire, and they're here to show that despite everything, they're still here. And that now, as Sister Deshommes was saying about having that voice, because how many of us are silenced? Dr. Trent talks about being silenced in her book. That's what was one of the main things that drew me within An Amazing Woman. This whole concept of living your whole life and everybody shutting you down, not letting you speak. And each one of us has found a way to express ourselves, whether it's through the way we speak, whether it's our art, our life's work. We found ways, to manifest, all these amazing things that are within us. Because, we each are talented. We're all given a gift, and our use of that gift is giving praise to God. Because he didn't give it to everybody. She didn't give it to everybody. He gave it to each one of us. And we all bring a certain level of energy into this. And that's what's so exciting, about this book, because we've been through it, as Black women, as women, period. in this society, listen, they don't set things up for us to win, y'all. They don't. As a matter of fact, they create all these different barriers to set us up for failure. So for those of us who have managed to break through that, it's up to us. It's our responsibility to reach back and share our story so we can get the next sister or brother that needs that inspiration, that needs that word that's going to make them get up and say, you know what? I'm going to say yes to the universe. I'm going to say yes to this situation. And that's what this book is really about, that sacred promise, those things we tell ourselves, that we're going to do in order to inspire others to move forward. And if anyone knows Dr. Trent, has followed her over the years, this is who she is. And it's not a surprise, that she decided to pull this collection together, to curate it. And it's not a surprise that all the women here on the screen, and Selena, unfortunately, she had to go, but all of us said yes. Right, ladies? It didn't take a whole lot of convincing, for us to say yes. Because I think each one of us, we're at a point where we knew we had a story to tell, right? We knew we had a testimony, to make, and just looking for the opportunity. Freshetta, when I was listening to you speak, I felt like I was, listening to a mirror of me. Because, girl, for years, people have been saying, ever since my cancer battle, people have been saying, you need to write that. You need to write that. And of course, you're like, yeah, I'm going to. Yes, I know I need to write it. But when this opportunity came, I looked up at the sky and I said, okay, God, I see you. I see you, goddess. Okay. And I did it, and I'm so glad I did it because I got the opportunity to connect with all the women that you see on the screen. And I feel like I've gained an entire soul family now because I know that I could reach out to any one of them. After reading their stories, I know I can reach out to anyone and they'll give me a word. They'll give me a word. And that's what this book is. This is a word. It's a gem. You can literally open the book to any page and glean something positive from it. And that was Dr. Trent's, intention from the beginning. To create something that can inspire women, that can empower women, that can get them to say yes to themselves, to God, something that, gives them some type of idea of where to go, which road to take. So each one of these stories, brings you something different. That's what I love about it, because we all have different, different stories. We all, are different hues. But the common thing is that we made these promises to ourselves. We made them, we honored them, we fought like hell to manifest them, and now we're here to tell the story. And that's really what this is all about. I feel like I'm preaching, y'all.
Yeah, but it sounds good. It sounds good. It sounds good. Amen. I'm gonna pass the plate in a minute.
Well, listen, we can pass the plate and donate, to Ryde Trent International, because she's doing the work. She's doing the work, and I would be remiss if I did not, reiterate. I think it's been mentioned earlier on the call, is that another reason why I chose to do this, because this was my way also of helping Dr. Trent, with her purpose. This is a woman who, was denied the access to education until another woman inspired her. And through a series of interactions, and I believe, this is all God-led, spirit-led, she got to the point where she got her high school diploma, she got her undergraduate degree, she got her master's degree, she got her doctorate. This, from where she came from, that is an amazing feat. But to not only do that, she could have done that, got some high-powered job somewhere where she got dressed in Gucci and Versace every day and made a ton of money. She could have done that. She could have done that. But she made a promise. Her sacred promise was that once I get this education, I want to make sure other little girls have that opportunity to get that education. And who gave her her first $4 million? Our girl, Miss Oprah Winfrey. And she took that and she continues that to this day. So, all the proceeds, to this book are going to Ryde Trent International, where she continues to build schools. Because listen, this is our next generation. It's up to us, those of us who can, those of us who are motivated to, those of us who have it in our hearts and our spirits, to help the next generation, to come together collectively and make sure that this next generation gets the same opportunities, that we had. so that they can be here, 10, 20 years from now, speaking about their sacred promises. I firmly believe that this is something that can go on. This is just volume 1. Who's to say that this doesn't inspire some other women to create volume 2 and volume 3. This can exist long after Dr. Trent, because this is a movement. It's more than just a book. The fact that we make these sacred promises, to ourselves, it's an important part of our life's journey. And again, it's so important for us, for us to share it.
That's really powerful. That sacred promise now should be #sacred promise, because it is a movement. And just listening to the stories tonight, I don't know any of you, but I'm endeared to you now from just hearing the stories. I haven't even read the book yet, right? And so, but when we're looking at that and we're saying, there's more of us, and there are many more people who your words will impact, that will change every community in which they live. Sometimes we look at it and say, each person teach one, each one teach one.
Absolutely.
Each one teach one.
Absolutely.
Each one teach one. But you have to have some sort of roadmap, some sort of product in your face, some words to help you manifest what needs to happen in our own communities. This book and your essays will be distributed all over the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I have to tell you that when I wrote mine, because I think we've done everyone at this point, right? We've spoken with everyone. When I wrote my essay, I was very conflicted. A lot of people knew or suspected that I was ill. Didn't really share it with anyone until, I was told that I was fully in remission, and then I kind of shared it, with people. And, people for years have been asking me, about my story. And, I'm not going to give you all the details because, like my sister Susetta said, I was like, oh, girl, you don't want to give too much because we want people to buy the book. I was like, my girl, you understand the assignment. But what I will tell you is that, my journey didn't just begin with cancer, because what a lot of people did not do, and what I decided to do with the story, was not to talk simply about my cancer battle. I believe that God literally spoke to me and said, you have more to say. That there's a big piece to this that you have to share, that you've been fearful to share, because I'm intensely private. I come from a Caribbean background, and we don't talk about family business. We just don't do that. We're encouraged not to speak, but in sitting in meditation and asking God to give me the words, because that's how I write. Whenever I start writing, I ask God and I ask the ancestors, use me, give me the words to say. I don't want to move or operate from a place of ego. I want to operate from a place of love and a place where I can be of service. So God said, oh yeah, that's what you want to do? So you got to talk about your friend. I was like, what friend, God? The liquor. Oh, that friend? Yeah. And I was like, okay, because I've never admitted openly that I was an alcoholic. And this is actually the first time I'm actually saying it publicly, other than, in meetings. I, battled alcohol addiction for many years. And I, like many out there, I was a professional. I was, an associate director of publicity at Simon & Schuster. I was on the road. People saw me with, with this person and that person, Kevin Hart, Taraji P. Henson, Alice Walker, and thought I was living this wonderful life. What they did not know was that I was in intense pain, and I basically was drinking myself through, depression and feelings of inadequacy and that imposter syndrome, that we talk about. And, finally, it got to the point where it was so unmanageable. And I started to physically get sick. And then, because, my God is funny. My God is gangster. Especially my God is gangster. So she's like, what you going to do about this issue, boo? Because you can't continue this, right? You know there's stuff for you to do, right? So I'm going to mention the people to help you, but when are you going to lift yourself up? So I took a deep breath and was like, okay, went and got help. And I believe that the goddess spoke to me at the time that she did, because what she didn't say at the time was, I have a bigger battle for you that's coming. And I need you to be clear. I need you to be clear here, and I need you to be clear here. Because that battle is going to take every ounce of strength and courage that you have. So I got sober February 2017, and I started feeling ill about September 2017. And ironically enough, who was I working with? Dr. Trent. I was on the road with her at the time. And I remember having lunch with her, and she said, you don't look well, Yona. You're not eating. Are you okay? And I'm like, I'm not feeling well. I'm going to go to the doctor when I get back, blah, 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 blah. And I started going to the doctor. And, long story short, through a series of events, I discovered I had a tumor. And it all came to me through a dream. See, when the goddess needs to speak, the goddess speaks, and actually showed me the cancer. And that started this whole long battle of tests and, finding doctors. And it was a battle. It wasn't easy, because I was calling up doctors and they were saying all types of things to me, but finding the right doctor and everything. And then them telling me that I had stage 4 stomach cancer. So my sacred promise and what I wanted to write about is, and my story is called Living Free, because I decided when I was diagnosed with the cancer that I was going to fight for my freedom. I was going to fight for the freedom from dis-ease, because dis-ease can be a lot of different things, right? So it was the cancer, it was the alcohol, it was the depression, it was all those things that fed all of that, which brought me to where I was in November of 2017 with a stage 4 stomach cancer, diagnosis. And I decided in that moment that I was not to, just like I did not give into alcohol and addiction, I was not going to give into this cancer. So I fought it tooth and nail. I talked to that tumor every day. I personally think, the cancer left because, the cancer was scared. Because I called the tumor Oscar, and I talked to Oscar every day. Cussed him out every day and said, oh no, you know what? You and all your little friends who decided to come up in here and invade this temple, you and your friends need to go to the left, just like Beyonce said. I said, because I had things to do. I was very clear on that. I knew that I had something to do. And my grandmother actually came to me and said, I'm not ready for you yet. Now, when the mamas come from the other side and give you that kind of message, I was like, bet. So I decided at that point that I was going to spend every moment being positive, fighting this disease, both of them. And I decided that I was going to live. And 5 years later, 2022, I remain cancer-free. But my job isn't done. My job isn't done. Because remember what I said Dr. Trent said in her book. You can go ahead and accomplish all these great things. I mean, I've launched my own company. I've continued to have, wonderful clients. I'm working with authors. I'm going into the TV film space. That's all fine, well and good. But remember what Dr. Trent said. You can't do all of this and have all of this and not take the time to help the next person. Mm-hmm. So this project is my opportunity, one of my opportunities to, first of all, network with some bad sisters. I mean, I read the bios of all the ladies in here, and I was just like, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. And, and all of them inspire me every day. So we all, have this important, these important things that we need to accomplish, in this world at this time. And this is just a springboard for all of us. It's the first step. We all have other work, that we need to do, but it's beautiful that we collectively have come together to do this particular work and to support Dr. Trent, in what she's doing. But I have a question. Marsha, I'm gonna jump in your seat just for a minute. Just for a minute, girl.
I'm so not surprised.
I know. But what I'm gonna do,
She always telling somebody what to do. Just go ahead. Go ahead.
I think it's important, and it speaks to this project for people to really understand why this project is so important to all of us. So I know when I was writing, my piece, I went through it. And I really wanted to touch base with each one of you and just for a few minutes kind of talk about what your process was like. And was there any moments, in the process where you said, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I really want to do this, or, should I really be doing this? Or, should I really say that? Did any of you experience any of that, while you were writing? And if you did, how did you deal with it? And, to finally come to actually completing the story. So, Trisetta, let's start with you, sis. Because I saw you nod your head.
Oh my gosh. This is wonderful because you hear so much about everybody's story and you get even more excited. But the process for me, it was therapeutic. I almost found an excuse not to do this and was justifying why I didn't have time and all those other reasons that have been in the past. But I said, this is the platform. This just like this, spirit came to me. This is the platform. This is the time. If I don't do this now, I'm going to shut up about it and not ever talk about it again. Because I had spoken it out into the world and it was taking so long, I was almost embarrassed. So if I didn't do it, I felt I was doing a disservice to everybody that needed to hear the story, because I'd been told, like you, that's a powerful story. Are you writing a book? And no, not writing a book. I don't have time. But all those excuses. So, but this, I didn't have to write the whole book, but I got to go through the process by writing a chapter, and that was much easier to do. It was, it was part of a tribe doing it, and the way, the tribe helped with the workshops and everything, and Dr. Tara being so inspiring, and oh gosh, I'm forgetting the names. Peace
and Katie,
Peace coming alongside. So it was just powerful. I know you said only a few minutes, but I can get like you. I can go on and on. So I better stop. But it was so powerful and so necessary. And it was absolutely what I needed at this time.
I'm going to call on my sister. Please forgive me if I butcher your name. Visionary?
Yes. So, as many of you are aware, I advocate for reproductive health. I speak about periods, educating women on menstrual health education. So when I started initially in 2014, a lot of women, unfriended me on Facebook. I lost friends because they said, I'm talking about an embarrassing topic, embarrassing subject. Why are you saying there are no sanitary pads in Zimbabwe? So I had to re-educate people. I'm not saying there are no sanitary pads in the stores in Zimbabwe. What I'm saying is that the majority of women cannot afford it. So when this opportunity came, I was ready because I arrived at a place where I didn't feel embarrassed to share my story.
Beautiful. My sister Comfort. Now, you and I have had a number of conversations about our respective stories. So I want you to speak next because I know part of the answer, but I definitely, want you to share, what the process was like for you, because I know it was a struggle.
Yeah, thank you so much. And first of all, thank you so much for bringing us together. So much beautiful energy here, always. Yeah, the process was really, really hard because I was not writing from the other end, watching what had happened in the past. I was right in the middle. So even when we were working on some parts of this project, I was actually in and out of courts fighting for my kids' custody. essentially putting some of the pieces of the book together as I was going through the process. I remember there's one weekend that I couldn't attend because I was actually taking my kids back to my ex, and it was just I don't even know. I think I got the strength from the love from these women because there's been a connection that's happened individually with each one of us, and I think it's just been calling you this morning, Sister Yona, and just talking about nothing and everything. Talking to Sister Gertrude, sometimes trying to talk about work, but just talking about, like today she'll say, like, how are you doing? And I'll just go off and I'll just go on for an hour and she just listens. Like just this gift, right? So it's been really hard to write. And then like my sister Jisne said, I've had to talk about unveiling child sexual abuse that has happened over like generations, and that's really, really taboo in our community. But I've had to go there. I've had to confront my father in front of all my siblings, and I'm the last born. And I've had to confront him in a loving way that said, Dad, I love you, but I didn't like the behavior I grew up seeing. And that has given permission to so many women in my community to not ask for permission to question some of those I would say toxic behaviors, right? So I've kind of had to go through this journey up to living to this chapter, being labeled a rebel, really, and reaching a point where I look at my children and I say I want a better future for them. And the only way I'm going to start a new storyline is for me to dismantle the silence, because that is what I've seen, what was perpetuating a lot of what I grew up around. And I still see, I still receive a lot of hate mail in my inbox from my community, from my African community, from my Zimbabwean community here in the diaspora and at home. But I think for any radical change to happen, someone has to be that naughty or that bad girl, and I'm willing to do that for the greater good of the change of culture and just honoring of the girl child, in my community. So thank you. It was a hard process, but one that I would do over and over and over again, because I believe our liberation, lies right within that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sister Sandy, now you're a writer. This is not your first book. This is not your first time at the rodeo. So how was it for you? Was it different than stuff that you've written before, or does it kind of fall in line with other books that you've done?
It was so different because I've always just barreled on and pushed through everything and just sort of gone confidence first and then worry about everything else. And I got hit with this massive wave of imposter syndrome. And I just had so much fear of being judged as a white lady, maybe writing something that wasn't as significant as some of the gravitas that so many other authors were writing. And I actually panicked after we'd submitted and said, "Oh, Dr. Tara, I don't think I should have shared my story. Maybe I need to go back and rewrite." And I just was so filled with fear that I maybe had shared the wrong story. I'd shared a story about Barbie dolls and being excluded at the swimming pool because of my Barbie dolls. And you have to read that story. And she came back to me saying, "There is someone somewhere that will need all of your story." And then what happened about 6 weeks ago was one of the young women that I had proofread my story came to me and said, "Granddad said maybe I should stay home and not do uni. But I remembered what I read with your story and I put my application in." So for me, that just gave me that reassurance that, we need to hear stories and we shouldn't doubt our stories if they come from the right place and they come from a spirit of sharing with the hope that we do all live together.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, beautiful. Sister Sarah, I know that you talk about, this use of art. Did art complement the actual writing? Like, was there a moment where maybe you, expressed what you maybe wanted to write in a like a graphic artist, kind of thing? How did that figure into, your story? And what were some of the challenges for you and how did you deal with it?
Thank you. I think where being a visual artist comes into the writing is that I write very visually. Like everything is very visual and descriptive, and the way that I live in a very visually driven world sort of comes out in the writing. But I just wanted to say that, it was a really interesting process. I feel like one thing I'm hearing overall is that there was a lot of us that were getting deep down into the roots, into the deep, deep, deep roots of our stories. And that was certainly my process too. I know I've spoken a lot about, the role, pushing the arts forward and the role of the arts or whatever. But once again, that was all because it's the only thing that kept me alive in going through some of my deepest pain, a lot of very personal loss and death and sexual abuse and, all of this very, very deep pain and experiences that I went through where it was like, that was my, my life boat. And so I certainly went into that root pain. And I feel like once again, it's a really interesting, what brings a lot of us together in that sense is I hear a lot of going into the deep roots. I appreciate very much Yona and also Comfort what you guys were saying, because I also know that it's I always think about the writing process as like, it's one experience to write from the wound. It's another experience to write from the scar. The scar.
Wow.
That's a word right there. That's a word.
Wow. Wait a minute. I need you to
go on a card.
You need to come back and say that one more time.
Yeah. Well, it's one experience to write from the wound. And it's another experience to write from the scar. Ooh. And so when you're writing from the wound, it's hot, right? It's so hot. It's so hot in your body, and it's so hard because you're not even processing things, And so I just want to honor Comfort and Yona and anyone else on this call that was writing from the wound, because that is hard, But I also think that my other experience in this is like just in really, really kind of hyper focusing, because we had to hyper focus, right? We had 2,000 words. So my full story is not in this story.
Correct.
As none of us is.
Correct.
So we have to hyper focus, but I went into the deep, deep roots, and then always, once again, going back to my sacred promise, that process of writing is a healing process. It heals me, it heals everybody that reads it. It's healing, it's healing. And I always feel like when we fully embrace our full story and like really get through it in the power through it in the ways that we need to heal, it creates this very fertile soil. And I always say, like, don't divorce any aspect of your story from yourself, the most painful to the brightest moments, because that's what makes your unique soil. That's what makes this like incredible soil of your unique language, right? And then that soil is what grows the mighty oak tree that assists you in your service to the world. And so it's like, once again, sort of going back to the roots, like, by pulling up the roots, and it was hard. I'm with you guys. This was hard to write.
Gotcha. Sister Gertrude, you were so emotional, earlier. So I can only imagine what the process was for you. So share with us.
The process for me was a fulfillment of a prophecy. When I wrote my very first book, I woke up in a dream, and the dream was of my funeral. I had died at 100 years old, and they were putting my body into the ground, and somebody was reading my eulogy. They said that my writing and my speaking would touch on the lives of millions of children on the African continent. They said that my first book would create a foundation that would sponsor children's education. They said that I would write, direct, and produce an Oscar award-winning screenplay that would win 8 Oscars. Now, I wrote this down as the last chapter of my first book. And when that book was published, people thought I was crazy. They would read the book, get to the end, and read a eulogy of somebody who was dead but was alive. And I remember my ex-husband saying, people are going to think you're crazy. Why are you writing this down? It hasn't even happened. But the thing about that dream was, in the dream, I could taste, I could smell, I could touch. I was there. I knew exactly where my life was going. So I published the first book with this crazy last chapter. And the invitation to contribute to this book is a fulfillment of that prophecy. You know, I realize where I'm at right now. This platform will help me reach millions of kids. Working alongside Dr. Ryde Trent, lifting her, helping her, connecting and collaborating with all of you, I feel like I'm now in an army of go-givers, not go-getters. Women who want to change the world through the power of their stories, women who honor their stories. I believe all of our stories are doors into other worlds we would never have known. And when we honor those stories, we not only heal ourselves, like Sarah said, in the process of the writing, but we heal past generations, generational trauma, and we heal the future. So it was a fulfillment of a prophecy. I am in the middle of a dream right now, and I pinch myself every day, and I'm sorry.
No,
A blessing. What a
it's
blessing.
Okay. No tears.
What a blessing.
It's joy. It's
Yes.
beautiful. It's beautiful. Never apologize for your feelings, sweetheart.
Mm-mm.
You know, what a blessing to be, you know, to have that, because it's not a dream, sis. It was a vision. That's what it was. It was a vision, you know, and that vision will manifest. It's already on its way, like you said. You know, so all you got to do, girl, is, you know, hang on to that seat.
I
Hang
feel
on
it.
to that seat and just go. And just
The
go.
bridge has broken. It's a dam wall that has broken, and the flood is coming, girls. It is coming, and we are going to change so many lives with this work. So
Amen.
I'm just so blessed that you made this all possible. I'm blessed that Dr. Ryde Trent handpicked each of us, because she saw in each of us a piece to a puzzle that we're all putting together. And Marsha, thank you for this amazing platform to allow us to share a little bit about ourselves as well.
Well, I want to thank you all for actually trusting me to be here and to share your stories and to share your spirit yourselves. You know, I know Yona, I've known her for a while, and I know that what she does is something that I would support. I just know that because of who she is, and I have a lot of respect for you. You know, I have a little saying like, just a straight up no chaser, and you know what you're going to get. I can deal with that. I don't care how you bring it. It just come straight up no chaser. We can go forever from there, right? And so it's powerful to hear these stories. It's powerful for you all to share what you've been going through individually and collectively. And this show is about that. It is about not only entertaining, but educating and sharing experiences that we don't always have the right platform to be able to do that, to be able to share what we're going through, share what needs to be said, things that need to be changed. The world needs to change. Women need more jobs, more education, more income, more peace.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good place. You come to WKIM and Marsha Jews is here. This is a safe space. And we can tell the truth here.
Absolutely.
And anybody who is within the sound of my voice that listens to this platform, they know they ain't gonna get nothing but the truth, whether you like it or not. Right? And we have to have that safe space. We have to have those spaces where we can tell the truth. We can't have change if we don't deal with the truth. Everywhere. It's not just in Zimbabwe. It's not in Nigeria. It's not in the Congo. It's not in Martha's Vineyard. It's not just, it is everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be able to have a place where our voice matters. And I just want you all to know, you all don't know me, but you are welcome here. And we can create whatever we want to create here.
I love it.
And I
Thank
thank
you,
you all for taking the time out of your busy schedules to share. I can't wait to read the book. So I can't wait to read the book. But I'm really happy for you all that you were chosen. And you were chosen for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And these stories are those reasons that you were able to give of yourself, that you were able to dig deep into your soul to express it.
Mm-hmm.
That's powerful.
And let me just interject here. Now, Marsha typically reads books. But so, because you said that and I was like, sis. The only reason why she hasn't had a chance to read Sacred Promise, like she said, she did this as a favor to me. Because I called her up and I was like, yo, sis, I have this book and, I want to be, it just, published in late June. And, would you be open to me bringing, some of my sisters, from Sacred Promise to really talk about the book? I really didn't give her much time because, like she said, I'm pushy.
Yes, and we know that.
I kind of did that. So her not reading the book is not her fault. I just kind of say, yeah, we're going to be on Tuesday, right? And she was like, oh okay.
Yeah, we're gonna cancel everybody from 7 a.m. p.m. to 10. We're gonna cancel everybody. We just gonna We're gonna cancel every cancel. See, Katanya, we can't cancel and no, but that's what we did, right?
Yeah.
And we needed to do that, and we will do what we need to do when we can do it, right?
Absolutely.
And so just know this is a platform. This is your platform if you need it. This is your platform if you need it. And you've got links that will come off. I'll send them to you from YouTube, and you can send that to everybody. It's on LinkedIn. It's on Facebook, all of the things that have Marsha Reads Jews on it. But in the meantime, I'll get that YouTube link and I'll send it to Yona, and she'll send it out to everybody so that you can use that as well.
So
now
Marsha,
we have.
You know what? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, since, we don't have that much time.
Yes.
And I was thinking, since, Sarah set it off with, those words, oh my God, I'm literally going to write that down. Seriously. I mean, girl, you got me thinking of a whole lot. What I would love all the women to, to end with is, if you could select a piece of advice, because I believe most of us, if not all of us, I think everyone in the anthology gave, some sort of advice. To their readers. And, of all the things that you have in your story, what is one thing that you want, someone who reads your story to come away with? One thing. And anyone can start. I don't want to, if you can think of it. One thing that you want your readers to glean from your, yes, Gertrude. Mm-hmm.
One thing that I would like to share is that your story matters. No matter who you are, no matter what you've gone through in life, if you can talk about it, talk about it. If you can write about it, write about it. Because somebody is waiting to read your story, and your story could be the light at the end of the tunnel for somebody else.
Sure. Important.
I can go. It's comfort. I'll say, always remember, a prophet is never honored in his own village. And so your vision is yours, and yours alone. And not everybody has to get it. Just go ahead and
Mm.
implement it, and they will eventually catch up on it.
Mhm.
It's your vision and yours
Mhm.
alone.
Sure.
And be okay when your closest ones might not understand that vision. That's okay.
Mm. And that you have to
Mm.
stand alone. Because
Mhm.
sometimes in that you got to stand alone, and that's scary. That's powerful. That's
Mhm.
powerful.
Mhm.
Which one of my sisters is next?
I'd say that the transformation you went on to write your story, to get it out, I would say truly embrace that transformation and
Mhm.
continue to use it for whatever other sacred promises, because some of you may have had more of a challenge in figuring out which sacred promise. I felt like a couple. And so the process I went through to write this story and what I learned for myself during that, I'm going to use that energy in that process to help me realize additional sacred promises.
Mm.
This was my primary, what I wrote about, but I think there
Mhm.
are others
Mhm.
could I could fulfill.
So maybe next time it's 2 chapters or 3, and so on and so
maybe
on.
maybe it's the whole book next
Maybe
time
it's
that
the
I
whole
need to
book.
get done.
All right. All right. I love it. I love it. Who's next?
I'd like to just share with women that are going to view this recording, and just let them know, whatever you have irking in your heart, to
Mm.
put it out there, because it could be the answer to some of the world's problems. And my sacred promise was ending silence on menstrual health education, and I published the first menstrual health book in Shona for Zimbabwean girls. So it's an answer to a problem, So you never know what your sacred promise, what it's gonna bring to the world. So just go ahead and jump and do it. That's all. Thank you so much.
Mhm. Awesome. Sandy?
Yeah. So my chapter was titled Ad Astra per Aspera, to the stars through difficulties. So I think that the closing takeaway for me is for anyone that is in some of those difficulties and in those moments, never forget that you were made of stardust and you have infinite cosmic potential. So even if you are in one of those dips of the difficulties, you will get through, and your sacred promise will absolutely ignite.
I love it. Sarah?
Yeah, I mean, in one hand, I feel like we're all saying the same thing differently, right?
Mhm.
It's like it's always just embrace your full story, embrace every moment of your story as your unique you. That's very much a part of my story, so that I might speak to you of your magnificence. Like, your
Mhm.
magnificence is so vast, but it's all
Mhm.
of you. It's all of you. And it's not something to be tolerated. It's something to be celebrated. It's not this is okay. It's magnificence. And so it's, just allowing people to tell their stories, and knowing that, as we're all saying, that, like, it's just the power in telling it in all of its hardship is
Mhm.
so beautiful.
I love it. I love it. And I think for me, and it's something that I say often, and um, I really internalized it, when I was writing my story, and that is say yes to the things that scare you. Because for the longest time, I was like, people think, oh, you should start your own business. Oh, no, I don't know. There's so many publicists out there, blah, 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 blah. And now I'm out here doing the damn thing. Okay. Because, like one of my favorite books says, The Alchemist, when you focus on what your life's work is, what your life's purpose is, the universe does conspire to propel you forward, and to almost guarantee success, as long as that you honor yourself, and you're truthful to yourself, and you walk and you move with integrity. And and as an aside to that, the other thing I would say that is related is that you are exactly where you are supposed to be. You don't have to compete with anyone. It's not a race. You don't have to compare yourself to anyone. Your journey is your journey. Embrace it in its totality. Because like someone else was saying, all of us have said at some point, during this interview, is that there's going to be something that's going to reach someone. And for me, if I reach one person that decides they're not going to take that drink or do that drug, if one person decides, you know what, I don't feel well, I'm going to go to the doctor, then I feel that I would have, fulfilled my purpose. Because there's a lot of people out there who don't get the opportunity to be on the other side, like all of us, have gotten to, to tell it, to show that, you can, live through it. So I would basically, say those two things, and I hope that that's what they glean from, from my story. And I will turn it back over to you, my lovely sister Marsha.
Well, first, second, and third of all, this is very powerful. Very, very powerful. And, we don't have enough spaces here to be able to have these conversations. And I just want to assure you that we can do this here when we want, right? And I ask that you continue to take these wonderful thoughts and the pain and the joy that you have and continue to write and continue to share and continue to help our children and help them to be able to see themselves being wherever they need to be and to whomever they will be. And it's our responsibility. And it's just so beautiful to have met you all. And I'm so grateful for you, Yona, to include me in this powerful discussion. And I like these discussions because out of discussions comes change. And that's what we're here to do, to impact change. Thank you all so much. Any last words or thoughts that you'd like to leave with the audience? So we've been talking a lot. Go ahead.
In our native language in Zimbabwe, we say kutenda kwakiti kuri mumoyo, which means the gratitude of a kitten cannot be seen, but it's in its heart. So we just want to thank you for this amazing opportunity and platform. Thank you.
Thank you all. And I can't wait to read the book. Everybody go buy the book. That's very important. Sacred Promise by Dr. Trent. Ryde. Trent. Okay. And I saw it on, it's a must buy. And we would also like to get your feedback too. So be sure to send it to our email to WKIM.medianetwork.marciajews@gmail. We'd love to get your feedback. That would be really important for us. So thank you, ladies. Wishing you all my best. God bless you all. And may you continue to thrive. I love you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, Marsha.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Good night.
Good night. Where is the button?
Okay, take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Girl, I'm gonna call you on the phone.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we can't put this on tape. It's already still rolling. Bye. Thank you. We'll see you next week.